Hello and welcome to CivilNet. My guest today is Member of Parliament Tevan Poghosyan. Mr. Poghosyan, thank you for joining us here at CivilNet.
Thank you for the invitation.
The reason we invited you here today is because you were part of a parliamentary delegation that was dispatched to Latakia to meet with the displaced Armenians from the historic town of Kesab, Syria, that came under attack in the early morning hours of March 21 by Syrian rebel forces from the Turkish border. Kesab is a town that's located right on the Syrian-Turkish border. And about 2,000 Armenians, 600 families, were forced to evacuate, and they are now being sheltered in Latakia. Some of them are being held in churches, in a church, St. Asvazazin Church in Latakia. What were your impressions when you saw the displaced Armenians there?
Very sad, very negative, very touchable. But let me start from the very beginning, just saying that we hasn't been Armenian parliament delegation. I mean, just group of Armenian member of the parliaments as a group, because we went there on our private initiative, and thanks to Armenian who covered the whole financial means for this trip. The real touch was go and see what's going on really there in Kesab, in that part of the region of Syria, how the situation with Armenians, and how we can really help to initiate some discussions, new approaches, try to help to our compatriots in Syria from the point of view of like state. As Armenia is already state, then it should have its own mechanism on some immediately reacting on such events. And with that attention we went there. It was very, very touchable from the point of view that all of us has some stories coming from grandmothers, grandparents who tell the people who kind of fled during the genocide. I'm personally has been touched because being from Karabakh, I know a lot of stories of the people who fled from Shamian, from Martagit, and all this has been coming to your part with people in the night just immediately fled the place without taking anything, without keeping any belongings, just trying to save their own personal life. Some of them even left documents and something like this. It really was also inspiring from the point of view that we learned that, for example, the old man in that region, which is not only like Kesab, but also around by 10 small
villages, right?
Coming, the men has tried to organize self-defense. And in the few places there was also not only attempt, but really they was in a position to kill some rebels who has been attacking and try to capture Armenians there. Unfortunately, they didn't able to defend it till the end, but at least it was good that they take the time, and all women and kids has moved to Latakia, and then on the next day morning, when the Syrian army clearly explained that they are not able to really defend and support, all Armenians went down. It was first time when we didn't have any Armenian killed.
Right, there were no Armenians, no Armenian losses. There were some reports of some elderly Armenians refusing to...
About 30 per person
about 30
been
people.
even arrested and moved to the Turkish side. Today we have talked with the Kesab mayor, and he informed that out of all this international big kind of a voice on saving Kesab and Kesab issues and statements, maybe this is how he's saying that it's influenced, and 7 of these 20 people who have been captured has left for free. They also return back. According to him, there's also now some attempts of army to retake it back. But the most important that people in Latakia, with whom we discussed, with all this pain and sadness and this very difficult situation, they are ready to return back to Kesab.
Sure. How many families, how many Armenians are now in the church? Because we know that several families are staying with friends and relatives. Some have gone to Beirut, some have gone to Anjar, but there remains a significant number of Armenians still in the church. How many do you, when you went?
Yeah, the church provided us with the list that there are about 330 families whom they having on the list with the names and phones, whom they feeding. And providing food, who is coming in Kesab, and they trying to help them with that. Actually, we need to be clear that whenever we ask them what they need, they said that's like we have a shelter, good or bad, because they all wishing to and dreaming to return back. They said that I don't need home now because I will wait for a week or about 10 days and then we will be back with this hope. They have some barely clothes, not possible to change because the fleet was just whatever they have on them, but something this issue can resolve. Then also food is not the problem number one because the church is helping, they have some funds, and also the community is helping. The most important what they have, they don't send any funding in their hands.
Right.
Some of them needs maybe documents in the future. Kids are not going to the school, and these kind of an issues would be coming as long as they will be staying there. But for that first period of time, they really living with this dream and wish to be back.
Oh, I would imagine. We know that Aram I, the Catholicos of the Great House of Cilicia, Armenian organizations in Lebanon and in Syria, the Syrian Red Crescent, a number of organizations have been extending assistance. Did you see how they were assisting the Armenians?
First of all, yes, we see like for how they've been cooking, preparing food for everyone, all this sleeping bags that is available there that the family is staying. There were some people who has been playing a game with the kids to try to entertain them. What was very interesting and good that in Latakia church was the most fastest Wi-Fi available on the territory of Syria whenever we see, which is kind of a small element, but the people could be connected with the world and discussion. And definitely, I think some structure should be really put in there because church is trying to do its best. Embassy is trying to do its best. Syrian government trying to help them. The local authorities are really also utilizing their available resources, try to help the people. But we need to understand that all this is just humanitarian and very, very small things over which we need to help them. And we need to live with the logic that, okay, let's tomorrow Kesab would be liberated. But if it's taking long, then we need to be prepared for this scenario.
Right. So when you went with your fellow members of parliament as a personal initiative, as you said, obviously you came back and you reported to somebody, yes, about what you had seen. I mean, the government in Armenia, the speaker, the president. What is it that the government of Armenia, the Republic of Armenia, Armenian citizens, individuals, organizations, what is it that we can do? Because there has been an immense outpouring of calls for assistance, and yet a lot of people don't know how to help, even if they wanted to. So what are the recommendations that you have made? I
would say that, first of all, we need to think about how establishing a proper mechanism for such kind of scenarios. Because
in Armenia?
In Armenia as a state, because this is the case in Syrian army, but there's no guarantee that next day there wouldn't be some cases with the Armenians in other countries, and we need to have the proper way. I think first we need to also, based on this, start a discussion on the institutional improvements, which could come with the renewing national security concept, establishing proper mechanism, and not considering that diaspora is out of our security arrangements or strategic threats. But we need to improve all this part. But first of all, let's go with what we can do now. I think one of the things to establish some foundation or some funding for collecting real and supporting with the real means, because as I said that people in Latakia now need just simply means for something to care, because in Latakia you can buy everything,
but they don't have money.
But they don't have money. And imagine there was cases when people said that I'm a wealthy person, I have some couple of $1,000s in my home and I have something in gold, but I left everything there and now I'm without means. such kind of a moment to take them and to overcome all these difficulties. More to that, we need to raise all the issues at the international level, and I think on that regard, one of the most important things that we can do, try to really collect all the stories, because any case when we discuss with the families is the case of violation of human rights. And based on that, Armenia, I think it would be good to collect all that personal stories of 650 families, out of them what's happened, and prepare an international case on violation of human rights. And then Armenia can raise it to the international communities and various institutions making this. We have Armenian deputies not only in our parliament, but all over the places, and we will need to raise issue of Armenians providing security in them, because for us, the case of this is about the Armenians. We went there not because of any political reason, but it's our fellow Armenians, and Armenian state should be really caring about any Armenian in the world, in any place, and it's understandable that we are not maybe have resources of strong and big countries trying to provide with everything, but we can do small things, at least on institutional level, over which we need to learn. I think that could be another point over which we can do. And the second, we need to perfectly understand that what's going on there in Syria have a lot of limitations. Banking system is not working in some sense. We need to establish proper also information collection. What we notice over these last 2 days, I'm just keep trying to explain on Facebook to all my friends' request that a lot of things that is distributed or shared is not has anything related to the what's going on in reality on there. I think maybe media joint effort should be established there to having permanently one Armenian journalist who would be providing information to all this,
yes,
and
absolutely.
try to escape all this misinformation, because people here are getting not correct informations, and this is even sometimes turning into the information war, over which is not the part of our task to fulfill. And I think that kind of a step should going on there with, again, if it's God bless, tomorrow would be Kesab liberated, then we have need to see the another scenario when we will be helping our Armenians to rebuild them houses, because at the moment of taking it back would be much more destroying ideas. Even it's a lot of houses is destroyed already now. But imagine the point that is taking long. Then we need to learn how to take care of those kids who are at school time and they are not able to go to school.
They're traumatized, they would need psychological
Definitely.
assistance.
All these elements should going on, and we need to prepare a proper strategy over which institution doing what, how to take all these issues, and based on this Syria case, we need to make it.
I'm going to interrupt you here. You know, you are a legislator, you're a member of parliament. When here at CivilNet, when we found out, it took about 3 days for any state body, any government agency in Armenia to respond, to even say anything about what was going on. You know, this is not a new, unfortunately and sadly, this is not a new occurrence in the reality of the Armenian nation, particularly of Armenians in the Middle East. We had the case of the Iraqi Armenians coming to Armenia. We've had the Syrian war is not new. It's been going on for 3 years. You know, according to the Ministry of Diaspora, there are about 10,000 Syrian Armenians who are currently living in Armenia. So the mechanisms and the institutionalization of the assistance that you're talking about is not something that we should be creating today. It should have been created 5 years ago or 8 years ago when the Iraqi Armenian case came. What is the problem with the slow reaction to the Armenian government or Armenia's parliament in addressing these issues?
I said that with each next, unfortunately, bad event, that time for the reaction is getting shorter and shorter, which is kind of improvement, but I'm sorry to praise on anything like this. I'm one of the first who has been always criticized. First of all, I've been also putting, at least on my level, on the Saturday and Sunday on my Facebook, all the system of information, trying to reason issues. I've been the one who asked the question to the head of the parliament on the proper and clear steps, what we need to do as a next kind of to take over these cases. And now this is in our package of kind of recommendations, over which we will be meeting with all the state possible bodies and try to raise, I think, the new point for the national concept of the national security should be reviewed.
Revisited,
and
yes.
there, see, like we have that the territory of our interest is coming like Armenian Nagorno-Karabakh Republic. We need to kind of extend the logic of that. It's not maybe territory, but cases what's going on in our diaspora should be again treated as national threats, and Armenia should establish this mechanism.
Sure, because while those regulations and steps are being formulated, lives are hanging in the balance, and 2,000 Armenian people today who have been forced to leave their homes. I am going to ask this question. There has been a lot of criticism about your visit, many people calling it a PR stunt. What would you say to that?
Oh, I've already had this opportunity to answer. I'm not going to. It's not only PR. I think you have been very kind not to use the all labeling that has been put to this group. It's a normal for me. It's normal from the point of view. Let it be. If we would be really consistent in proving that it wasn't been just simply visit, but out of the visit we have been able to come up with the list of recommendations. Based on that list of recommendations, move to the list of action and do the actions and implement it, I think then we will really prove that all this labeling was senseless. From another side, always the one who is doing first thing, it's always labeled, and we get rid for this. As a politicians, all this labeling, we're used to this. I think the best proof that the others are really caring, they are free to move any place. They can go buy a ticket and move and also go there. And I think it's must even that from Armenia, in such cases where there are issues with the Armenian community, there should be not even if one every day, but at least some groups visiting there, and that group shouldn't be just simply only people from the parliament. It should be from media. It should be just political parties. It should be some academia. It should be just the business community people who can go in and present some issues over which how to care. We are the first on this line. Will be labeled. It's okay. No problem with this. If we will be persistent, then we'll really prove that something is really has been on the right way direction. And now it's making a really interesting task for us to really prove it. That's why let's work on that direction. And the ones who are really just wishing to label, let them label it. This is the life.
The most important thing is that as a nation and as a country, as a state, that we do find those mechanisms and put those institutions to work to ensure that Armenians all over the world, if their security is threatened, that we can extend our assistance. So I do hope that your recommendations will be heard and that they will be put into action.
And so we will be persistent and pushing on this, and I hope that really this would drive to the final proper institutionalization of many issues. And based on that, really is not be just simply good for Armenia to develop as its country, but really being able to have a mechanism to take care of any Armenian in the world, and at least being a support. Because just simply this touch, show, take a photo, just small smile.
To know that somebody cares.
Yes, this was the really what these people has been looking and needing for that point. Over that, we fulfill the task for that small 1, 2, 3, 4 hours for these people. But there's much more obligation on us, and we're really feeling this part, and we'll be really continue over to take all these steps forward.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I'd like to remind our viewers that my guest was Member of Parliament Tevan Poghosyan, who has just recently returned from Latakia, Syria, where he had gone with a group of parliamentarians to do a needs assessment and to see the situation on the ground of the Armenians of the historic town of Kesab, who were forced to flee from their homes on March 21 after a rebel attack by Syrian rebels. Thank you for watching CivilNet.